Hi, I'm Layla Brewer, Title IV-A Program Consultant at KDE. This webinar covers the effective use of technology section of the grant, including allowable activities and ways districts around the state are using Title IV-A funds to support improving the use of technology to improve the academic achievement and digital literacy of all students. First, for districts that receive $30,000 or more, they must conduct a comprehensive needs assessment and select activities based on the results. Many districts are using their CDIP as their needs assessment. A needs assessment must be conducted at least once every 3 years to ensure that the district is targeting their current needs. Any district that receives over $30,000 must also spend a portion of effective use of technology. If a district receives under $30,000, they can choose to spend all or none of their funds in this area. A portion is an amount that is reasonable in funding an activity that supports this content area. Funds can be blended with other funding sources, including Title II, to provide professional development to support the effective use of educational technology. An example is a district can use funds to pay for a sub using Title IV-A funds for an ongoing PD on using technology that is also being funded with Title II or district funds. Please make sure if using state or local funds that Title IV-A funds are supplemental. When districts are making a plan to use Title IV-A funds to support either an activity or a salaried position, they need to take into consideration whether using federal funds will be supplemental to other funds or if it is being considered supplanting. Questions about supplanting typically occur when a district is using funds for a position or an activity that is currently paid for with state or local funds. If the district has a part-time position and is now being used for a full-time position, this would be supplemental. If the district is wanting to now cover the position fully with Title IV-A funds, they would run into an issue with supplanting unless they can prove there's a reduction in state or local funds and the program or position would be cut without the use of Title IV-A funds. At no time may an LEA decrease the amount of state or local funds used to pay the cost of an activity or position simply because of the availability of Title IV-A funds. There's been a lot of confusion over the effective use of technology section of the grant and how funds can be spent. Only 15% of effective use of technology funds may be used to build technology capacity and infrastructure, which includes procuring and ensuring quality of content and purchasing devices, equipment, and software to increase readiness. This is not 15% of the district's entire Title IV-A grant allocation. At least 85% of the educational technology funds must be used to support professional learning to ensure the effective use of educational technology. For the professional development being supported under this section of the grant, it must be sustained, collaborative, job-embedded, data-driven, and classroom-focused. It cannot be standalone, one-day, or short-term workshops. Now we're going to look at some use of funds around the state. Districts are using funds in several different ways to support professional development opportunities for the effective use of technology. Some examples include funds to support Google training and digital citizenship training. Districts are also using funds to provide additional training on using educational devices in the classroom, including interactive boards to get the most use out of the educational technology. Also, training on educational programs, including grading and assessment programs and educational learning programs, and training to increase the effective use of existing technology. The opportunity to provide PD opportunities on the effective use of technology is really important. As a former classroom teacher, I benefited tremendously from opportunities to learn how to use the interactive board in my classroom and different programs and features of using the board. This PD could also include training on observing proficient teachers in the use of programs or classroom technology and following up with implementation and collaboration working groups. Funds can also be used to provide stipends to teachers attending training outside their contracted time, substitutes, registration and travel costs, and paying consultant fees or stipends for technology coach to provide professional development. Districts can choose to reserve 15% of funds in effective use of technology for the purchase of technology devices. Those items include Chromebooks, digital instructional resources, hardware, software, platforms, and devices that are not integral to the running of a program or activity that would be supported under well-rounded education or safe and healthy students. Examples of items that fall under the 15% rule include general assessment software, iPads, Chromebooks, and general educational platforms. Technology items purchased to enhance or enrich teaching and learning falls under the special 15% rule. When consulting with private schools on how they want to use their Title IV allocation, please note that private schools must also follow the guidance that districts need to follow, including the special 15% rule. The rules for Title IV applies to the private school's allocation, not the district's allocation. For example, a private school receives an allocation of $2,500 and wants to use $375 to purchase Chromebooks and use the rest of their funds for an arts program in support of well-rounded education. This would not be allowable since they're using 15% of their total allocation. If the private school decides to participate in the district's PD on blended learning and uses 85% of their funds to support this activity under effective use of technology, they can then spend the remaining 15% of their funds to purchase iPads or other technology-related items. Thank you for watching this brief overview of using Title IV funds to support effective use of technology. For additional grant questions, please contact me, Layla Brewer, at 502-564-4772, extension 4028, also at layla.brewer@education.ky.gov. For budget questions, please contact Thelma Hawkins at 502-564-1979, extension 4361, or at thelma.hawkins@education.ky.gov. Thank you.